Good morning, everybody. This is going to be a pretty early live compared to most of my other ones, but I want to hop right into this because we have a lot of things to talk about. This will be one of my more deeper and more multi-layered lives. So if you're able to catch this in real time, then I'm glad to have you here. Please hit the like button on your way in. As always, that will definitely help the video. I want to read this. I literally just saw this maybe 2 minutes before I just went live. So I just sent out, if you're a Patreon member, I sent out a heads up that I will be going live this morning. About an hour ago, did the same thing on Twitter. And I want to read to you all what someone just sent me before we hop into today's topics. Which, before I read this text, I'm actually going to give you all just an overview of what we're going to be discussing in today's video. We're going to be discussing Dan Bongino, who was caught lying about the Charlie Kirk investigation. That's going to be very interesting. We're going to discuss Erika Kirk blocking others, or supposedly blocking others with opposing views from college campuses or college campus visits. We're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss this guy who made this prediction back in 1997 about the world agenda. That's going to be that's probably going to be arguably the most important part of the video. And then we're going to discuss Joe Kent. He went on to the Mark Levin podcast, which is one of the most hilarious, satisfying moments that I've had in the past couple of weeks, easily. All right. So hold on one sec. Kind of hot in here. Of course. But I want to read this Patreon message that someone just sent me. Because I'm receiving these more and more these days. He says, "Hey, bro, I just saw your tweet about getting ready for the live, and I'm tapped in for sure. I wanted to say this too, though. I've been paying attention for a minute, and I can't help but notice that some other creators talking about the same topics that you cover are pulling in like reaching 4 times the amount of people on their videos. It got me thinking, and this might sound a little crazy, but do you think part of it is because you go so deep and you're so serious? Like, a lot of these creators are joking around, being goofy, and kind of watering things down, even when they're talking about stuff that's actually real and life-changing. I'm not saying change who you are at all, because that's why I rock with you, but I do wonder if maybe loosening up just a little bit in delivery could help more people actually receive what you're saying. Either way, I'm locked in for the live." I appreciate the message. I don't know if that's what's going on with my channel though, man. Yes, I've seen that. Other people have told me that. I believe it's YouTube though. I think because I talk about serious topics, like anything else, like if my YouTube channel was about food or sports or things like that, things that are less controversial. Because if I'm going to talk about something like what I'm about to talk about in today's video, I'm going to really talk about it. And I think I get punished for that. I do. Right? Yes, I've noticed that some people are not as serious and they kind of play around, but the algorithm loves the heck out of them. I don't really know how to switch it up here. Somebody got some advice? I'm all ears for sure. Let's see. Yes, so I just referenced the 1997 clip of this guy who's predicting, you all should know how I feel about predictions. I don't believe that this guy's predicting anything, and I'm going to at least put the clip up. I'm not going to play it just yet. This is going to be relevant later in the video, especially when we're talking about Mr. Trump. But this is definitely the guy, and he's making these predictions about the world agenda. All right. And if you've been following this channel, or if you've watched my videos prior to 6 months ago, then you will know that I've covered other quote unquote, not predictions, but I believe that they're plans, right? These are planned events. We've covered The Simpsons, right? And how The Simpsons was able to showcase certain things that happened with Kobe Bryant, certain things that happened with the September event in New York back in 2001 with the buildings. we've been able to cover those things from a multitude of different levels. And it's not because the Simpsons predicted anything. They didn't predict anything. It's because the owner of the Simpsons, or the creator of the Simpsons, is a Freemason. And I'm under the belief that he has foreknowledge about certain plans that are supposed to take place in this country. All right. And I believe it's just that simple. And the Simpsons is known for doing that with a plethora of different topics. The music industry, we've discussed certain meetings and things that have taken place, and quote unquote things that were said on video, not predictions, from people. And then when you look in 2015, 2020, 2025, many of the things that they were talking about came to fruition, right? It's because these are part of the plans. And this will be very, very relevant when we're talking about MAGA, when we're talking about Donald Trump, and we're going to get into that later in the video. I want to kick this video off with the question. Shout out to, I believe his name is the Fittest Flat Earther or something of that sort. I'm sure a lot of you all are familiar with his videos. Don't always agree with what I see, but you don't agree with everybody on any topic. But I do believe he has a lot, he shares a lot of interesting information, 100%. Shout out to him. This video right here, many times on this channel over the past 4 months, I've said that Erika Kirk does not look the same to me. And some of you all have told me that, in your opinion, they believe that, or in their opinion, makeup can do this. And I was like, okay, well, I'm open to that. I'm definitely open to learning more about how that works. But I'm saying, like, her facial structure looks different to me at times. And some of you told me, well, again, makeup can do that depending on how it's applied. But I'm like, even the jawbone, you know what I mean? This picture right here was shared on his channel yesterday, and I was like, bro, great point. And this is what I've talked about over, I don't know how long. The nose looks way different here. At first, I was like, let me give her the benefit of the doubt, and maybe she's like looking upward where you can see the inside the nostrils. That's clearly what's not happening here. The best argument you can make is that maybe this person had a nose job done. But early on, and when I say early, I'm saying like 2 months, 2 weeks into the whole Charlie Kirk situation. So September 10th is when everything took place, which is right the day before September the 11th, which I always thought that was pretty ironic. Within a week or two, we were I shared a video on Patreon. I couldn't share it on YouTube. On Patreon, and a lot of my Patreon members will know this, where we talked about how Erika's teeth looks different in certain videos. It's just the truth. It's not me speculating. It's the truth. We've covered this in great detail. We've done still shots. We've shown videos, grainy videos, better quality videos. Her teeth looks different. Now, in this video, her eye colors are different. And yes, I understand some human beings, especially Caucasian people's eyes, change. I know in the Black community, our eyes rarely ever change. The eye color we got is always the eye color we have. But I know with other people, their eye colors tend to change depending on their outfits and things of that sort. I know that happens, and I know that that's pretty normal with other folks. However, we've all had this thing with Erika Kirk's eyes. I get it. We all understand that. Her eyes are completely different colors here, and it's weird things that take place with her eyes. I just wanted to show you all this side by side to say, what do you all think about this? This looks like two different people. And not only that, if you go and watch the video of Erika speaking in the photo to the right, well, I don't know how it's shown on you all side, with her yellow eyes, where she first immediately addressed the public after Charlie, after the whole situation. Let me put this up. Yeah, man. Very strange here. When you listen to her speak, it doesn't seem like Erika to me in other videos. It seems like one could say, well, because of what she went through, and no, man, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying it seems like somebody else was up there speaking, acting as if they were Erika. Very strange. Very strange. It's almost as if there's more than one Erika Kirk, man. But now, I started out this video the way that I did because I wanted to lay everything else out for you. Now I want to move into our first clip because we have a lot of things to cover. You all will not be disappointed with today's live. I promise you that one. All right. So here's the first clip to sort of set the stage.
I'd like to dedicate this video to everybody that was attacking Candace Owens, Tim Pool, Dan Bongino, Graham Allen, Cullen Rugg, Zach Guntherman, all of the White House water boys that relentlessly try to convince you that Candace Owens was a conspiracy theorist. Now that Joe Kent came out and dropped the bombshell, watch this video and tell me what you think.
I want justice for my husband.
When one of President Trump's closest advisors, who is vocally advocating for us to not go to war with Iran and for us to rethink at least our relationship with the Israelis, and then he's suddenly publicly assassinated.
Go down that rabbit hole, whatever.
We were stopped from continuing to investigate.
You don't need, you don't need anything else.
Charlie was under a lot of pressure from a lot of pro-Israel donors.
He took massive abuse from his own donors, and they expressed it to him in a very intense way. I know because he showed me.
I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite.
Be very careful, Charlie. The prophets warn that those who curse Israel will be cursed. He is going to lift his hand from you. It will be to your peril. He did feel threatened by that.
He didn't say that. Everyone wants an answer to this evil. And sometimes the answer is very clear.
We still had a lot more leads to run down that pertained to some kind of a foreign nexus.
How do you know?
We're cut off pretty early on from being able to access like the files.
I've seen it all.
Told that, hey, you guys need to stop. You can't work on this anymore. Not an honest effort was given.
You don't believe the truth. I don't know what to tell you.
If it is a slam dunk case that he took the shot, what about all the people who had prior knowledge?
Right.
The darker it gets.
I'm over there thinking I'm in crazy towns.
This is a mind virus.
There was more work for us to do on the potential of a foreign nexus.
Israel killed Charlie.
Come on.
We're coming up on several months now. Why hasn't this been done?
We are busy building.
There's been a lot of sympathy, and his movement has grown, etc.
I'm not going to sit in the corner and cry and be in fetal position.
But actual curiosity about getting to justice.
Basically daily being like, anything new,
To figuring out what happened.
Because it's too simple.
That makes me furious that we're being blocked from that.
Everyone always has to think there's more to the story. Well, sometimes there's not.
We're not allowed to ask the question anymore. What does that mean? What does that mean that there are people and there's entities out there that don't want us looking into this?
I do not have time to address the noise.
And there was more stones for us to overturn.
No rock will be unturned.
turning over every single stone.
Considering how pivotal Charlie was to the MAGA movement.
Stop.
And to President Trump, that there hasn't been a more concerted effort to find the truth and to find justice.
Stop.
Yeah, and that's extremely strange. Why is his wife and other people at TPUSA not as dedicated, right? I am aware of the Andrew Kovac clip that has been circulating around the internet of him revealing that Joe Kent was the person in government that he sent the text message thread to from Charlie Kirk in the group chat, sharing that he had to leave. He had no other choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And also sharing information that Charlie allegedly had reason to believe that someone was going to unalive him. Now, this is where it gets weird. For Andrew Kovac to share that clip, it's like, hold on, bro. Why would you not share that with the world? Well, he addressed it in the clip, and he says it's because it was shared in private, and he didn't want to reveal. What does that even mean? That sounds so stupid. If somebody did something that my friend lost his life, I don't care about a private text message. Put that out there before they take me out, and then it'll never get out. Instead, you privately shared it with somebody in government, and now you're upset that it got leaked out into public through somebody else. All of that is weird energy. The fact that he didn't want that out there, the fact Erika is not addressing that, obviously we all recognize that that is very strange. But I'm also, I want to make sure that we address this. I am aware that Joe Kent was at one point in time, I don't know if he's still currently, endorsed by the Palantir guy. I am very, very aware of that, the same guy that backed JD Vance. And I do believe that's a bit suspicious. Sometimes people choose to back somebody without that person knowing what their agenda is. Of course, that can always have other meanings. I don't know. But I did want to share that, you know. And so, yeah. But I'm going to move it over to the next clip. I think that clip speaks for itself. Erika Kirk is having a back and forth right now with this group called Unelf America, UNFUCK, Unelf America Tour, which is ran by the YouTuber, streamer, content creator Destiny. As you all know, we've discussed them. If you've been following this channel long enough, Destiny is over this group, and obviously he's a raging leftist or whatever you want to call it. I'm pretty sure he's an atheist. All the things, right? Super progressive. Destiny, under this organization, Unelf America, I also believe this is an organization that the kid Hunter Kozak, which just so happened to be the last person asking Charlie Kirk a question about a trans power, right when everything first took place. He just so happened to be the person asking Charlie Kirk the question. But anyways, they have been known to go to the same campus at the same time as Turning Point to sort of kind of, you know, counter conservative agenda, as they would call it, conservative ideology, right? Well, I want you all to check out this clip because Erika, surprise, surprise, is allegedly standing for something that Charlie was against, which is we were open to debate. We were open to opposing views. But I guess not anymore.
You guys weren't able to have the counter tabling for the Unelf America tour, and that really pissed me off, especially because we have some really good people that could be on campus to counter program that.
Well, let's go back here. What is it?
Because we have some really good people that could be on campus to counter program that.
It says ASU approved our event with Destiny. Then Miss Erika Kirk, shows up and complains. Hours later, it's canceled.
To express our freedom of speech on every public university campus across this country.
So we are still showing up at ASU on Monday, and we're going to exercise our First Amendment rights peacefully and publicly.
I'm sure the ASU thought that we were just going to take this line down.
They don't get to decide who has a voice on campus.
This isn't just an attack against National Brown Game. This is an attack against Democrats all across the country.
So we'll see you Monday. See you soon, Erika.
Now, as you all should know, I don't really care for their politics. I think a lot of those people are atheists. I think a lot of those people are anti-God, but they're American, and they have the right to be anti-God. They have the constitutional right to be atheists. They have the constitutional right to be for whatever political party or anti-political party that they choose to be, right? And even more specifically, Turning Point USA up until this point has always been open to debate. Whether you felt like Charlie Kirk won a lot of his debates, lost a lot of his debates, or whatever, he encouraged and was open. He was open to opposing views and trying to convince people why they should change their perspective, which is typically what debates are about. You're trying to win over that person, right? Not what Erika Kirk is doing right now. And so that's a pretty big deal because it was some contractual issues. The two people there at the end, the two women that were showcased there, both of those women, from my understanding, I know one of them, the older lady, she definitely has a longer video where she goes into details. They had a contractual agreement with the campus. They had made the approval, and then the campus immediately followed and told them, hey, there are other guidelines that you didn't follow, such as a 14-day advance that they didn't oblige by or something to that extent. But they later found out that Erika allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly because I don't know it to be a fact, But according to them, Erika Kirk went to the campus and started complaining that, hey, this Un-Elf America tour is sort of messing up the flow of things here, and we're not comfortable with them being here. I don't know what that's about, but that's really weird. All right. But speaking of Charlie and what Charlie believed in, we have to get to one of the most important parts of this live that you all will see today, and that is Dan Bongino. I've spoken about Dan Bongino quite a few times, or a couple of times, but we have to discuss this man again, because what's happening with Dan Bongino right now is an incredible example of why we need to stop putting our faith in men and stop putting our faith in government, because all of these people are playing us. But we're going to get there. I promise you, we're going to get there. Let me go to the first clip, because many people are showing you Dan Bongino clips. Probably, I don't know that for a fact. But have they showed you what Dan Bongino said about Charlie Kirk? I believe that's the next clip that's in queue. So let's go ahead and bring that up and share our thoughts on that. Where is Dan Bongino at? There we go.
These tools. Here's Daddy a little while ago. Here again. You want to see the PSYOP in action? He claims to have some hidden knowledge, Mike Flynn Sr., about the Charlie Kirk crime scene he was never at. Knows nothing about the investigation at all, but he's got hidden knowledge, folks. He just doesn't tell you what it is. It's about 25 seconds or so. But I want you to listen to this. And again, who's the fraud and the liar? Check this out.
I don't believe that it was a lone wolf, 22-year-old tranny who wrote a perfect, whatever it was, text message to his lover or whatever. It was clear that they dirtied up the crime scene for certain. There's no doubt about that.
For certain. You know that, Mike?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You willing to say that under oath and provide any actual evidence?
Evidence. This is why I'm so invested in this, because this is one of the biggest psyops I've ever seen in my life, and it's so obvious. But what I need people to understand is, while this may seem obvious to us, what we have to do is show a little bit more grace to boomers. I know it's not all boomers. You all have already gotten on to me about that. I get it. But in fairness to boomers, you have to understand something. And younger people, you have to understand something, specifically with boomers. A lot of us have come up, especially my generation, in what they would like to call the conspiracy theory era. I don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but if you want to call me conspiracy theorist, just get my pronouns right, which is I told you so. So we came up in a time when 2001 has happened, and we're on the other side of a lot of history, and we got a lot of theories about what things have truly taken place. Boomers were growing up in it. So a lot of them, we have to show grace, because a lot of them are still trying to work themselves out of their current mindset. Right? They're still trying to, what is it called? Unthink or unlearn. They're trying to unlearn so many things that they thought were true. So many things that they believed to be true about the world and how they thought the world truly worked. And with some of these things that are taking place, like a Charlie Kirk, like a JFK, they're still trying to make sense of these things. It's easier for us because we didn't go through some of these things. Charlie Kirk is something that we're actually going through. And whether you believe that the guy is alive or not, psyop or not, clearly we're being lied to, right? This is why it's important. Dan Bongino here just said that this guy he just reacted to has some sort of hidden knowledge. This guy has some sort of hidden knowledge that he won't tell you. He says, really? Even though you weren't there at the investigation, at the crime scene, really, you have hidden knowledge, right? Are you willing to testify under oath? Oh my gosh. Let's think about this for a second. Is it a fact, yes or no? Is it a fact that they paved over the crime scene within hours, I think like a day or so after the fact? That's tampering with the crime scene, Dan Bongino. Is it not? That's not hidden knowledge. That's public information. Let's go a step further. Is it a fact, yes or no, that they started to actually repair broken windows from that day. That's not hidden knowledge, Dan Bongino. That's a fact. Let's go a step further. Is it a fact or not, yes or no, that George Zinn, as soon as everything took place, it's almost as if he knew what was going to happen. Almost like Mikey McCoy turning around so fast and walking out. Almost as if he knew what was going to happen. George Zinn drops his pants, throws his hands up in the air. I did it. Arrest me now. I'm guilty. Why would you do that? As if you're some sort of decoy or you're trying to make people look that way so that the people or the person responsible has extra time to get away. Why would you be doing that? That seems to be part of some larger orchestrated scheme, right? That seems very sophisticated, right? That's a fact. That's not hidden knowledge, Dan Bongino. That's public information. Let's go a step further. Is it not true that the Farnsworth guy literally got the SD card out of the camera and walked off with it? Why would you be doing that? Oh, we didn't want anybody to steal the camera. Why didn't you take the whole camera? Why didn't you take the whole camera? You took the SD card because you know that's what was most important. Why would you do that? Why would they carry Charlie off? That is, in my opinion, also tampering with the crime scene when you have EMS there in person. Why would you walk past them and go to the SUV? Is that not tampering with the crime scene? Let's go a step further, FBI. I believe that you tamper with the crime scene when you're only releasing footage of Tyler Robinson running off the roof. Why don't you show us the footage of him getting onto the roof? Why don't you show us the footage of when he actually took the pow-powing? Why don't you show that footage? How could that tamper with the trial in any way? It can only help you. If you show or irrefutable proof that this man truly did it, there won't be a trial. He'll just plead guilty, right? Isn't that what you would expect? Right? What hidden knowledge is Dan Bongino here talking about, bro? The chair was getting moved in all of this. What are you talking about here, man? That's not hidden knowledge.
I've gone easy on this guy for a while because I feel bad for him, what he's been through. No one defended him more than me. I've written books about what happened to this guy, and it's a damn shame. But once the grift virus infects your mind, there's no saving you.
I can't take these people serious. So hold up. Dan Bongino, isn't it you that wrote entire books on PSYOPs? Isn't it you that wrote entire books on the deep state, only for you to be the second in command in the FBI to then not arrest anybody from the deep state? Not a single Democrat got arrested. I know why that is. It's because all of y'all are on the same team and you're pretending to be opponents, right? Each of you have a role to play. Sometimes you'll be the bad guy. Sometimes you'll be the good guy. That's why it's easier for these people to sleep at night. That means that, and by these people, I mean the ones that are super high up. It's easier for them to sleep at night because it's all a game. It's all a grift. They know that they're not really meaning the things that they're saying. So they don't have to, struggle with sleeping at night knowing that the people hate their guts. No, because they know that they're only reading from a script, allegedly. But we're going to get there. Because I'm telling you, that 1997 clip, you all want to see this. What is this guy talking about? You wrote entire books just so you cannot arrest any of those people. And now you know people are against you. But we're going to get to that.
And there's no saving him either.
You are the grift, Dan Bongino. By definition.
Love this show today. Thank you, Dan, for calling these people out. EK Harris 68. I'm tired of these mother.
What?
You want to play? Let's play. We can do a show like this every day.
That is essentially what your show is, dude. Why are you saying that as if that's some sort of like surprise? I know a lot of you all have seen the clips of Dan Bongino getting confronted in person. I mean, one of the most satisfying. That's what I would do if I was there. And I hope I get the opportunity so that I can literally show you all that I'm about what I'm talking about. If I saw Dan Bongino in person, I would say it. I know who these people are and what they're about. They're doing what they were paid to do. They're doing what their roles, is designed to do. But I would still just let them know, we don't appreciate you. Stop lying, right? And we see through you. But I've done a compilation video. I've taken 3 different angles of when Dan Bongino was confronted. One of the angles a lot of you all have not seen yet. Let's go and check this out together. Okay. This clip is so awkward and it's so odd. And I'm going to break it down from a psychological perspective once we see the second angle. But there's a guy here to the far left of the screen with the ball cap on backwards with the beard, the heavier guy. He's filming Dan Bongino. And we're going to see in the next clip, we're going to get a better audio in order for you all to hear what he's saying. Just for those of you that can't hear it, right? Or for those of you that have yet to see it. But I wanted you all to see him walking down the stairs first, and then we're going to move to the next angle and you'll be able to hear it. Okay, here's the second angle, and this is where it's about get. I've seen a couple of you say that you have not seen this yet. Wait till you see this. If Dan Bongino has never looked so soulless in his life, wait till you see this clip. And again, as a lot of you all know, I have one of my degrees is in psychology, so I'm going to give you all the psychological perspective. I can't think of the terminology for what it's called in this very moment to describe what Dan Bongino, his behavior right now, but I'm going to describe it with a bunch of words instead of I'm going to give you the definition instead of the term itself. So this is Dan Bongino at some sort of MAGA event. He's walking down, and I want you all to pay attention. Dan Bongino glances up. He's going to glance up at this guy who's holding the camera phone. He's terrified. He's petrified to make simple eye contact with these people. And you only do this when you have something to hide. Think of the Dan Bongino before he joined the Trump administration, when he was a Secret Service member, when he was a podcaster, right? When he was working those worlds, when he was a police officer, when he was in that world. He walked with a sort of bravado about him, right? A certain amount of confidence about him because he knew he was doing great work. He knew that the words that he said matched his actions. He knew that his actions matched his intent. His actions was the same, right? Was consistent with the way that he truly felt, with the things that he was truly telling people. He knows that that's not the case anymore. Dan Bongino, it's one of 3 things that's taking place. Dan Bongino has either, in my opinion, been blackmailed. Dan Bongino has either or been blackmailed, or he's been offered and accepted an unthinkable amount of money, wealth, or resources to flip on the people, or the most likely option, which we're going to get into later. I don't want to get ahead of myself, which is Dan Bongino is who we see him to be from the beginning. The only reason why I would give some credence, or a little bit more credence to the first 2 as well, is because of how he's behaving. This is a man who has lost himself. This appears to be a man who is struggling to just look at people because he knows he's lying to the people. He knows that everybody else is honest and he's not. He knows this. So he's out in public. It's easy to sit behind your microphone and your camera, and act tough and scream and yell, which seems to be all he does these days. As his podcast tanks in rankings, because even some of the boomers are waking up because they see even some of the smallest of hypocrisies from this guy. Watch this. he's going to glance at the camera guy, and he's going to do this weird thing where he's like this. He's going to be like this. If you all are the guy holding the camera, this is Dan Bongino. He's going to be like this. And even once the guy starts talking to him, he won't look at him. Kind of like I'm doing right now, right? If my voice was y'all's voice speaking to me right now, why am I not looking at you? Why am I walking really slow? Not looking. Why am I doing that? Why am I? Because I know what I've done. Let's take a listen.
Don't be a coward, Dan.
Look at this. Look.
God's watching you, man.
Why is he doing that? Look at that. Look at his eyes, bro. It's almost like as if he's looking through the guy. It's almost like Dan Bongino is looking through him because he has so much on his mind. He's trying to figure out almost as if a way to escape this, right? Look at this. Look at this, man. Look at that. The guy is talking to him. Dan Bongino won't even look at him.
Man, remember, we reap what we sow. God's watching us. Go all out against the deep state. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of Satan, man. I'm telling you. I'm ready. I'm ready.
So think about that. The guy says to him, don't be afraid of Satan, man. Go after the deep state. We believe in you, man. Do this. You got this. Don't be afraid. We reap what we sow, brother. That was not hateful. That was not attacking Dan Bongino. That was confronting Dan Bongino with love, right? From a person who I would like to assume identifies as MAGA. He's at the MAGA event. He's speaking the language of Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino's response was not what you should expect from somebody who's being confronted with love. Dan Bongino responds and says, why don't you do it? That tells us what we need to know. Why don't you do it? Why won't you volunteer? You do it. He's barking back at somebody who's not even insulting him, but he's about to be insulted by another person.
Be in Congress. I'm ready. I plan on it. I'm not afraid of Hillary. I'm not. God bless you, man.
God bless you, man. Speaking to him in love, Dan Bongino can't tell the difference because any critique, any criticism is going to hit the core because he knows what he's done. He knows who he is. He looks out of it, bro. He looks out of his mind. That hairline is crazy, but he looks out of his mind. Now the person he's speaking to now, we're going to go to that next camera angle and wait till you all hear what that guy said to him. That guy had completely different energy from Dan Bongino.
I'm hearing love, Dan.
I'm hearing love, Dan. That's what this same guy here is saying. Dan doesn't care. He's just as upset with you as he is with the second guy. Here it goes. So this is him speaking to the guy that we just saw recording him. Now, this is a different person that just walked up. Listen to what this guy said to him.
You're a protector.
He said you're a PDF file protector.
Protector.
And now Dan Bongino is looking right at him.
Protector. You put. I was a cop for 9 years. You're a pedophile protector. Faggot. You're a pedophile.
Now I don't agree with the name calling, and by name calling I only mean the FAGGOT word that he said there at the end. I tried my best to edit that out. But the other things that he's calling Dan Bongino, I'm totally in agreement with, which is a PDF file protector, which I do believe he's at. Him and everybody else that's in Congress that is participating in this, right? Not only that, I want you to take a look at Dan's wife. This is when you know, I mean, you all don't need me to tell you this. If a person is truly guilty or not of something, if a person truly has something to hide, look at the behavior of their girl, of their wife, of their girlfriend, of their fiance, of their husband, of their boyfriend. Look at the way that he's behaving. But more specifically, the woman, because the woman will tell. She has nothing to say. Her behavior seems petrified. She seems almost as if they're quite literally exposed. They don't want to be out in public, but they have to be. It's almost like they're skeptical, right? See what I'm saying? So Look at this. Let's go back here a little bit. This man just called him a PDF file protector like 6 times.
You're a pet protector, a pet protector, a protector. I was a cop for 9 years. You're a pet.
This guy says, I was a cop for 9 years after Dan Bongino told him to go and volunteer and do something. He says, I was a cop for 9 years. Dan Bongino's response was, you ain't do SHIT. Huh? What does that mean? That don't even make sense. That's not even a proper response. You ain't do nothing. What you mean? He just told you he was a cop for 9 years, bro. That is doing something.
You're a pet protector. In fact, fuck you, dude. Fuck you.
Wow. I totally understand the energy and I respect it. And this is why I say, like, I don't subscribe to Republican or Democrat, but way more respect for the Republicans, man, because look what they're doing. They're holding people accountable. All I saw on the Democrat side was an echo chamber. People not want to step on each other's toes, and you don't want to offend the wrong person. And okay, you can be a man even though you're a woman, and you can go in that bathroom, okay, as long as I don't hurt your feelings and I don't get canceled and I don't want to get fired. And it's like walking on eggshells every day just to simply exist. Afraid to tell the truth because you're going to offend somebody who's living a lie. You know? These people are like, no, you said you were going to go out to the deep state. You said you're going to help change this country. Now you're in the office, do it. We know better than that. We know how things really work. But at least these people are trying to stir up a reaction to try to get better out of these politicians. I have respect for that. And this is a guy who says he was a cop for nine years, which, by the way, the guy responded. The guy responded to Dan Bongino. But before I show you all the cop's response later, let me show you what Dan Bongino went onto his show and said about what we all just watched take place, which is he got confronted in person for not doing the things that he talked about for years that he would do. He joined the FBI, worked that job for about 9 months, give or take, resigned, and went back to podcasting. Didn't arrest any of the people, didn't expose any of the things. In fact, he told people the opposite was true. The Epstein files did not exist. Right? Right? Listen to how he recounts what just happened.
I want to address are the grifters out there who mistakenly thought I wasn't coming back. Now, I am back. The Podfather is back, and I'm here to take back this movement. This movement's been hijacked by a small group of dipshits and bums and losers who are nothing but doomers under the frame of accountability. I'm all about accountability. I just showed you what we did or what we didn't. Did I not? I'm not sitting here going, hey, trust me, bro. I showed you. If you like it, great. If you don't, that is absolutely your constitutional right. You paid for it to go out and go, that sucked. I would have done something different. Okay, but you didn't. You didn't do anything different. I'm not sure if you volunteered to serve or not, but you didn't. You sat in the front row with your popcorn, ankle biting, throwing this popcorn at the ring at two guys in there sparring away, fighting for this country while you did shit. You just talked about it. So you didn't do anything. Now, I'm back on the air. I'm not going to take on every single thing in one day in one show. But I'm telling you right now, your bullshit, I'm done with it. The grifter bums, all you guys are a class of doomers. These guys show up at a MAGA event calling people, you get the point. You said it enough.
Wait, hold on. I want you to notice in this clip, he says these people show up at the MAGA event calling people, okay, you get the point. I've said enough. The only thing is he hasn't said it. And throughout this entire clip, he won't actually repeat what the guy was calling him. And what I mean is what the guy called you about 7 times, that phrase, which is PDF file protector. You're going to notice in this clip, Dan Bongino never addresses that. He never talks about that part. Watch this. He never says that out loud. Instead, he's about to give this weird, vague rant into the abyss. He's going to talk about a bunch of nothingness and talk in circles and call people names, but He won't actually address what they called him and why they called him that. This is one of the strangest and cringiest. Something's up with this dude, man. Like, here. He seems spaced out. Watch how he even goes about talking about. A normal person would say, man, I went to this MAGA event and these guys walked up to me randomly. I've never seen them before. I don't really know them. I've seen one guy once or twice before and just started calling me names. And I didn't really know what to say. I told them that they should volunteer if they think they can do a better job. And that's what a regular person would say. Listen to how he talks about it. This was so weird.
Screaming like lunatics in the lobby, crying like little girls afterwards when they got tossed out.
What?
Here's a tweet by Joe Kent supporting Igor. Back is Igor's buddy. Elon Musk, can you please reinstate Igor so he can continue to provide constitutional and legal analysis? Really? Showing up at a MAGA event with his boys?
Everybody, do me one favor. Look at the year of this tweet. They could have, if they wanted to be misleading, at least screenshot this and cover up the date. Yo, this was 3.5 years ago. He's referencing a tweet that Joe Kent put out 3.5 years ago, asking Elon Musk to reinstate one of the guys that was just calling out Dan Bongino yesterday or 2 days ago. That makes no sense.
One of them screaming, calling people faggots? That your boy, Joe? It's kind of weird how I called you out for lying. You're a liar. You are. And all of a sudden, I could prove you're a liar. I was there. I looked you in the face. You're a liar. And all of a sudden, weird, Igor shows up in his sombrero with Ogre and Little Guy.
What?
And Little Guy seemed awfully agitated. Think he had a little IBS. Maybe he ate a little something. Who knows? A sombrero. Maybe he had some Mexican that didn't agree with him.
What is he talking about here? None of this is relevant. He's just saying words. What does this mean?
A little too many spices there, Little Guy?
What?
You seem really upset. It's weird you run around calling people. It's strange.
He did it again. He said, it's strange. You're going around just calling people it's strange. Why is it that that alone is a data point that speaks for itself? He can't even force himself to say the things that he was called, because in order to do that, it would almost force him to address or look face to face with the very thing he knows very many people, that even the people that claim to rock with him, know about him to be true. You're protecting the very people you claim to call out.
Agree with him. A little too many spices there, Little Guy? You seem really upset. It's weird you run around calling people. It's strange. Here's Igor's buddy, Mike Flynn Jr. He was really, I guess he was upset. Badge of fucking honor, Mike Flynn Jr. That's his boy. Did you guys know that?
Why are you showing? This is embarrassing, dude. He's showing people how Dan Bongino, tough guy, second in command just months ago in the FBI, former Secret Service, police officer, all of this. Talked about some of the most deep things from the deep state government, written books about it. He's showing screenshots of people proving that he blocked them. Dan Bongino has been blocking people for, I think, 4 months now. He's been blocking a lot of people. He's showing one of the guys that he's talking about, proving that he blocked them. Dude, what are you doing here, bro? You said you were going to help make this country better, man. If you're not able to do that, say why. Stop pretending that you're in this, you're holding some sort of moral superiority or some sort of moral high ground over people when you're just lying, and we all know that you're lying. Stop trying to revert reality. You're trying to make truth lies. Left, right, up, down. It doesn't work that way, bro.
Igor used to show up at CPAC in like a little dog, like a dog. Although with that Igor face, I'm not sure a dog would want a face like that. My dog Lucy's a little.
Didi, what are you working on about the files? I have a video coming hopefully by tomorrow regarding Epstein, and you don't want to miss it. Thank you for asking.
Little cuter. However, Igor used to show up at CPAC with his homie there, Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn, Dan, didn't you defend his dad? Yeah, I did for a long time. His dad went through his unforgivable. And yet his son is part of some op after you served and they sat on the sideline. His son, who's done absolutely nothing but grift off daddy's name. What? The only thing his son brings to the table is the junior portion.
What?
That's your boy.
What is he talking about?
You prove of that? Showing up at a MAGA event? I thought you guys were Trump people.
Trump people. No, we're American people. Right? We're not whoever's in the office at that particular point in time. We're about America, bro. We're about conservative values, remember? What are you talking about here? Not a Trump guy, man. That's called being in a cult.
That's his buddy right there. He used to show up at CPAC. As a matter of fact, one of them took a selfie with him. Can I come on your show? Igor, can I come on your show?
What?
Please? Like a dog, begging like a dog, little Igor with his sombrero.
He's just repeating himself. He has nothing else left to offer. He's talking in circles. And it has, once again, nothing to do with what they were saying to you, bro. What about that part?
He didn't bring his stormtroopers with him, though, back then, because he wanted to be. He used to walk around CPAC like a little dog, asking everyone to come on the show. You remember that, Igor? Can I come on your show? By the way, Igor, you don't have as many friends as you think you have. I'll leave it at that. They show up at MAGA clubs and cause chaos. They had a group of them show up this weekend after this event, calling people, forgive me for the language, folks, in the show, but screaming and cussing, calling people, by the way, not just me and others, calling attendees of event faggots and others. These are guys telling you they're part of your crew.
That's not all they called you, bro. That's first of all. Second of all, that's not all they called you. And they were talking to you. What do you mean not just you? They were talking to only you, bro. They said, Dan, you're a PDF file protector. The first guy was extremely nice to you. He said, man, don't be afraid. Go after the deep state. Do the things that you said. Why aren't you arresting Hillary? Right? What about the emails? What about the people that are violating the youngest and most vulnerable population in our society? Children. Why didn't you arrest any of those people you talked about? That's what he said to you, bro. Why aren't you talking about that part?
This actually happened.
Crazy. And then to make matters even worse, he goes online and just posts this picture here and said, who did this? I mean, he's getting flamed under his comment section. So he chooses to just post AI Photoshop videos and pictures of the guys that confronted him like a man, like men would. They confronted him like a man and said, look, man, we were on the same side just a year ago. What happened? Did they say something to you? Did they blackmail you? What happened? Why aren't you doing the things that you said, bro? This country is going to hell in a handbasket, and you say you were going to help prevent that happen. You're not. You didn't. And now you're doing this weird, I mean, when I say weird, I mean in every sense of the word, weird, reverse psychological operation on us. Like we don't know that you're lying to us and that you're pretending that you're not doing the things that you said. All right. One guy went even as far to make a whole video. Here's the cop's response. Where is it at? Here's the cop's response. Or at least I thought. Where is it at? I'm so confused here. Down. Here you go.
So I'm the guy that confronted Dan Bongino the other day on video, and I would like to clear a couple things up. Number one, I am not a political operative that works with Michael Flynn or even Ivan Raiklin. I just met Ivan that night for the first time. So this wasn't some organized event that we were trying to sabotage MAGA. It was organic, and I was speaking from the heart and what a lot of Americans want to say to Prakash Patel and Dan Bongino, that we believed in you, we thought you were going to do a good job, and it turns out that you're running cover for elite pedophiles, rich elite pedophiles. I'm not okay with it. You have not been held accountable since, and you're making AI memes of us, which I'm laughing at. I'm sending them to my family. Everyone's laughing. You're making AI memes instead of addressing the issue that you campaigned, or not campaigned, but you on your podcast for years were talking about Epstein and pedophilia, and now suddenly the files don't exist. And all this, then they do suddenly. They exist afterwards. They do exist. So I have a problem with that, with lying to the public about things that we know are true, about rich elite people having sex and killing kids, but you telling us to forget about it. But no, we're not going to. And someone gave me your number. I tried to call and text you, and you kept saying it wasn't you, but I know it was you. And yeah, let's have a civil discussion instead of making AI memes. Stop dodging accountability.
Yeah, and this is the perfect time to transition to say this. This is a wake-up call to MAGA. This is a wake-up call to everybody in politics. I know I've been repeating this, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. But as I heard on a song here most recently, please forgive me for sounding like a broken record. I come from the brokest of homes. MAGA is not what you all think. A lot of people are saying Trump turned on MAGA. Dan Bongino turned on MAGA. Pam Bundy turned on MAGA. Tulsi Gabbard turned on MAGA. Kash Patel turned on MAGA. And my response to you would be, no, they didn't. They didn't turn on you. They were never MAGA. Just like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris were never for the Democrats. They are all playing roles. I know it's hard for people to believe that. I know they want to say that we are conspiracy theorists. I know they want to say, where's the proof? The proof is, look at the country over the past 40 years. Tell me yes, there were some direct policies that changed after the civil rights movement. Yes, I got you. But collectively as a country, has this country really gotten a lot better? I'm not talking about in race relations. I'm talking about generally speaking. When we look at the education in this country, look at the education attainment in the 60s and look at them in 2020. Did we really get better? Right? Look at the minimum wage. Look at the GDP. Look at the homeless population, right? Look at the housing crisis, affordable housing. Has this country really gotten better? Look at the amount of debt, not just collectively as a country or as a corporation, because the U.S. is a corporation. I'm not even talking about that, because I believe we went from like 33. We're like, for those not keeping up, I believe we're $39 trillion in debt now. You know, Trump, just like all other presidents, spent however many years talking about how we need to trim that down. Even kicked off this administration with the Doge effort with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, where we're now more in debt than we were before. Make that make sense. Right? I'm here to tell you that they didn't change on you. Trump didn't change on you. I believe Trump is a puppet. I believe Trump I was responding to somebody the other day. I said, Trump was not placed into office by the people because the Democrats had made things so bad. No, that's the illusion. That is why the Democrats made things so bad, so that once Trump got into office, it was able to convince people why. Because you had a legitimate reason. People were so tired and over the Democrats. No, that's not what happened, right? What happened was Donald Trump was a paid puppet from the beginning, and he had a role to play. Joe Biden was a paid puppet from the beginning. He had a role to play, and they're playing their roles. And one of the guys that it's always just warms my heart to see somebody else who gets it, who says it the same way that I'm saying it. I'm not the first. I'm not the last. I'm not the only current person. There are many thousands and thousands of other people that are saying it and were saying it before me. My point is, it's always so satisfying to see other people that gets it. like this guy. He gets it.
As an American male, I will no longer associate myself with the Republican Party. Now, before you jump down my throat about it, I will never associate myself with the Democratic Party. They are crazy. They are lunatics. They are insane. They are demons. I will never associate with them. But as a United States Marine, I will not associate myself with cowards, and that's exactly what these Republicans in Congress are. They are cowards. There is no greater evidence that we're not being governed, we're being ruled than the SAVE Act. The American voter went out there and they put Republicans in charge of both the House of Representatives and the Congress and the presidency, and we still can't have it. It's a Republican resolution. 80% of the country wants it, still can't have it.
Wow.
Don't want to do it. These Republicans know full well that if the SAVE Act passes, then the Democratic Party is basically at death's door because they can't win elections fairly. They can't. If the only people showing up to vote are vetted American citizens, or Democratic Party's done. And Republicans know that, but they still won't pass it. Why? Because they're in on it.
Right.
It's the Republicans' job to create the illusion of opposition, and it's the Democrats' job to completely transform the country into a socialist hellscape. The Republicans are there merely to create the illusion that you have some kind of a protection, and you don't. They're shaking hands in the back burner and collecting money. That's what they're doing. They're laughing at you behind closed doors. They have successfully transformed this nation that used to be the beacon of freedom for the entire world. They have successfully transformed this nation into a taxation labor slave camp.
Wow.
From coast to coast.
Wow.
Doge uncovers tens of billions of dollars of fraud. We're still paying for it. They put it on the back burner and won't even freaking vote on it. Minnesota, $90 billion in fraud. They're more mad at the people that exposed it than the people that did it.
Wow.
We can't have this. Can't have it. Why are we paying taxes at this point? Who are we paying them to?
Wow.
They don't care. They're going to collect your money knowing the full well that the cost of living is absolutely ridiculous. And they're still going to pull 37% of your income just in federal income taxes alone and go to the beach and sip Mai Tais. This is not the country that I grew up in. We have got to starve these people of our taxes. Starve them. We have got to figure out a way. No more taxes. No more until something changes. That's the only way we save this country.
I think that's incredibly sad. I want to be careful here on YouTube because I don't know what's allowed. I'm not encouraging people to break any laws or commit any crimes. I'm just going to frame it this way. Some of the things that I just heard in that video, I wonder how we can pull that off. Because if one or two people were to do it, then they would just be sent to prison and fined some ungodly amount of money. How do we collectively come together and force the government to do right by us? Right? Actually, this is when I should have the chat showing. How do we do that? How do we collectively get together? Because they have laws in place now to even gather in, I'm sure somewhere in the codes, it's against the law to get together and collectively plan to do things that they consider to be against the law. How do we do it? Do everybody just stop going to work? But people got families to feed. Do everybody just stop paying taxes? People are going to go to jail. And some people don't want to commit if they're not so certain if everybody else is going to do it or not. More people will do it if they know for certain that their contemporaries, that their peers will also do it as well. That everybody's taking the same risk. Force these people to do right by us. I'm 30 years old. If you're over the age of 40, you should be way more furious than I am. I would even argue if you're under the age of 25, you should be more furious because this is your future. 24 and 30, it's not that big of a part. I get it. But the point is, if you're a 20-year-old, if you're a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, you should be more angry than us in the middle because you're right in the thick of it. What they say, there's nothing new under the sun. That's what the scripture says. There's nothing new under the sun. Maybe we need to go to the scriptures and figure out what's been done. First of all, what the scriptures say that we should do, how we should handle these things, but also go to history. What did our ancestors do? How do we truly fight against this? Because these days, man, they got psyops and double psyops. So even if they realize that the people are organically taking over, I talked about this in the Martin Luther King documentary. If you are new to this channel, if you've never seen any of my work outside of the Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk stuff, I highly encourage you to check out my Martin Luther King documentary. It's pinned on the homepage of this channel. It's worth it. I talked about how even if there was an organic movement that would uprise, the reason why people like Martin Luther King and other folks were agents of the people who actually run this country is because, just like in the music industry, they'll manufacture their own savior. Why? Because they can control that person. If they don't manufacture their own savior, then an organic savior will rise up from the ashes, pushed by the people, and then change will actually happen. That's when it'll actually happen, because it's organic. So what they do is they get ahead of the curve. They manufacture a savior who's fake and a fraud from the jump, and they push what their funders and sponsors are telling them to push. But the people think that this person is organic, that their rise is organic. It's called industry plant. Just like industry plant in the music industry, it's industry plants in politics. They think that Trump rose up from the abyss and from the ashes, and he was pushed by the people. He was so different. No. And it's not they're tricking us, bro. And they're going to continue to do it because you really think that these people can make a difference. They can't. Trump is one person, allegedly. He's one person. You think Trump can get into the White House where corruption has been happening for years? And those people that's really been there way before him really know how Congress and all of this stuff works? You think they can get together and just get this person out the way, if you catch my drift, if they wanted to? Of course they could. Of course they could. Why don't they do that? Because the people that they're putting in office, I'm going on a rant. Let's move to this 1997 clip. You all want to see this. This is finally the clip of what this guy said back in 1997 about the world stage, about the world agenda. And the reason why this is especially important is because I was just talking to you about the music industry, how there were meetings that took place in the 90s about how they were going to infiltrate hip hop, and they were going to make it less about truly what you're going through in your life and your art and culture and things of that sort, a means to just express yourself, have fun on the beat, write poetry, positive healing poetry. A lot of people, especially a lot of people outside the Black community, don't know that. A lot of people in the Black community, the YNs and the younger generation, don't even know that. It used to be different. And I'm young, and I know that. It's like that in politics as well. It's like that in the economy as well. Take a listen to what this guy said back in what he found from 1997.
Prophecy, but prediction. If this was predicted 27 years ago, somebody knew something. Okay, here's the list. This is an abbreviated list. I could have made it much longer. You know I can. I didn't. Okay, you ready for the list? Fast mutating viral disease pandemics. Genetically developed vaccines. DNA database tracking. DNA chips. Get this one. 1997. Gene-based pharmaceuticals. Transmitting genetic instructions for a disease process.
Wow.
How about this one? You ready for it? Wait for it. Artificial intelligence to determine gene patterns. 27 years ago, who had heard about AI? Apparently they had. How about this one? Robots for doing genome sequencing. And then, this one blew me away. Using recombinant DNA for making spike proteins. 1997? It gets even worse. Smart homes. They have a whole chapter on smart homes / smart cities.
Yep.
This one will absolutely floor you. It did me.
And before he shares this, what the next one that's going to floor you, Smart cities. I need to put that on my list of videos to do. Once I talk to you all about the smart cities and the smart homes, it's going to blow your mind, because I was having this conversation the other day. I said, and I promise you all, I'm not going to overtalk. I'm going to play the rest of this. I promise. But it's important that I say this before I forget it. I was talking to someone the other day in the store. I said, think about this. They come out with different iPhones every year, right? The next version, iPhone 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. How long before the iPhone 10 or the iPhone 8 came out before you think it was ready? So in other words, let's say it came out, the next iPhone that comes out in 2027. Do you think they're just not finishing that grade this year or that year? Or do you think they had that iPhone 17 or the iPhone 7 ready 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Who knows? They make little small additions to the iPhone, and they drop a whole nother iPhone, charge you another $1,500 for the phone. It's the same thing with AI. How long has AI really been out? Well before they gave it to us. How long was the internet out? Well before they introduced it to us. Right? Think about the thing. We can speak to Alexa. Alexa is spying on us. That came out, which that shouldn't surprise anybody. They're collecting data on us all the time, nonstop. We can speak to a device and tell a device to set a timer. Tell a device to turn off the living room lamp at home. We can do that now in 2026. How long do you think that technology was possible before they gave it to us? Somebody said AI came out in the 80s. Probably so. Or that's when they introduced it to us. How did we go from, let's back up here a little bit even more. How did we go from Adam and Eve, and maybe if you don't believe in the scriptures or whatever, how do we go from the first humans on planet with just land, food, and water to now we have airplanes and televisions and 3D hologram? How do we get from nothing, dirt and grass and all of that to this? You ever thought about that? How do we go from grass, fruits, vegetables, cloth, animals to robots and skyscrapers? Skyscrapers are a bit more believable because it's simply building. But when you get into this advanced technology, where did it come from? How did you put that together? Somebody said, I'm always thinking that. Yeah, like that's crazy. But let's continue.
In 1997, and this is, you can do the word search and research yourself. They predicted, not 2025, but by 2020, that people would be working from home virtually. Come on. Nuclear devices causing widespread contamination. Nanotech devices, this stuff was never even heard of. Digital currency. And last but certainly not least, vaccination programs. I'm sorry, I got to chuckle, because if I don't, I'll cry. Vaccination programs run by organizations like the World Health Organization for a global killer that has yet to emerge.
Wow.
First printing, February 1997.
February 1997. And again, he kept using the word prediction. There's no such thing as a prediction. These people aren't predicting anything. They're planning things. They already have things set in place, right? I could easily tell my 3-year-old, because that's essentially what we are to these folks and the people that, and whatever is running our government, we're like 3-year-olds to them. I can trick my 3-year-old with a card trick, a simple card trick. I can show him something. I could take, it's easy. I used to do this card trick. I'll take this right here, right? And I'll tell my 3-year-old, I'll say, I'm about to, in a blink of an eye, I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn it red, right? And I'll touch it and I'll go, and they're like, oh, how did you do that? How did you just, and it's like, I can just change it again and make it gray. Some of this stuff is so simple. All I did was took something else, put it on top, put that card on top, trick you into believing that I got one thing there, but it's really 2. Right? That's essentially what they're doing to us. I can speak like I'm about to make a prediction when I know what I'm planning to do. Right? Speaking of scripts, following scripts, as we transition into this Joe Kent thing, I want you all to take a listen to the new script. Take heed of the new script that they're now pushing and they're trying to convince us to believe in. Now that, what's our man's name? Joe Kent has come out, and many other people have come out, exposing the Iran war. We shouldn't be in it, but we know that the way of the world is to be in forever-ending wars or never-ending wars, right? Let's take a listen to this new script of what they're now trying to convince us to believe and accept, now that Trump has forced us into a war.
We just need to stop panicking. It's worth it to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. So if I have to pay a little bit more for gas, I'll do
Pay the price. I mean, in order to have long-term stability.
The disruptions in the global markets are real and may be painful. But the long-term benefits, again, are incalculable.
There may be some sacrifices to be made at the pump on a temporary basis. I'm willing to pay 30% or 30 cents more at the pump to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon.
To win in life, you got to suffer short-term pain for the long-term gain, or short-term pain for long-term gain.
Freedom is not free. Americans are going to have to make some sacrifices.
This is short-term, and I'm asking you to just trust the man, okay? Trust the system.
You can't make this up. You think they'll be saying it if Joe Biden was in office? No, they won't be saying it, but there'll be another set of left-leaning pundits, news media pundits that will be saying the same thing on behalf of Joe Biden. And these people in particular will be bashing Biden. You see how this works? It's a game. It's all a game. So let me make sure I understand this right. Since it's Trump that's doing this, we should never be in it. We should be trying to fix our country, but we know that that's not why the president's here. They're not actually in office to actually make the country better. Why would we do that? It's like expecting people that own the medical industry to actually cure things, cure diseases. Why would I do that? I'm going to lose money. That puts me out of business. Why would I actually try to fix this country? We need problems in order to make money. Wars, we make a lot of money. And there's a lot of money laundering that goes in with wars as well. But that's a topic for another day. So now that we're in this war, let me make sure I understand this correctly. We should accept the spike in oil, the increase in food prices, the increase in gas prices, or the decrease in oil. We should just accept this now. This is all within 2 days or 3 days, starting 3/9, March 9th, March 10th, March 11th. I'm going to play that again.
People just need to stop panicking. It's worth it to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. So if I have to pay a little bit more for gas, I'll do
Pay the price. I mean, in order to have long-term stability.
The disruptions in the global markets are real and may be painful. But the long-term benefits, again, are incalculable.
There may be some sacrifices to be made at the pump on a temporary basis. I'm willing to pay 30% or 30 cents more at the pump to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon.
To win in life, you got to suffer short-term pain for the long-term gain, or short-term pain for long-term gain.
Freedom is not free. Americans are going to have to make some sacrifices.
This is short-term, and I'm asking you to just trust the man, okay? Trust the system.
I just can't make this up. But guess what? It gets a lot worse. And when I say worse, I mean worse. Here is Donald Trump and George Bush side by side. There's a reason I'm playing these things in order. It's almost like chronological order. The 1997 clip, the news clip, and now this clip. Take a listen to this. You can't make this up if you tried.
Citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
The threat comes from Iraq. It arises directly from the Iraqi regime's own actions, its history of aggression, and its drive toward an arsenal of terror.
Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. This terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon.
Saddam Hussein is a homicidal dictator who is addicted to weapons of mass destruction.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
There can be no peace if our security depends on the will and whims of a ruthless and aggressive dictator.
And they are indeed sick and sinister.
The Iraqi regime was required to destroy its weapons of mass destruction, to cease all development of such weapons, and to stop all support for terrorist groups. The Iraqi regime has violated all of those obligations.
Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location, but they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons.
The evidence indicates that Iraq is reconstituting its nuclear weapons program.
We warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons.
Satellite photographs reveal that Iraq is rebuilding facilities at sites that have been part of its nuclear program in the past.
We sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil.
The entire world has witnessed Iraq's 11-year history of defiance, deception, and bad faith.
For decades and decades, they've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore.
Some believe we can address this danger by simply resuming the old approach to inspections and applying diplomatic and economic pressure. Yet this is precisely what the world has tried to do since 1991.
For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
Iraq possesses ballistic missiles with a likely range of hundreds of miles, far enough to strike Saudi Arabia, Israel, Turkey, and other nations.
The regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas.
In the last year alone, the Iraqi military has fired upon American and British pilots more than 750 times.
The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America.
Regime change in Iraq is the only certain means of removing a great danger to our nation. The dictator of Iraq is a student of Stalin, using murder as a tool of terror and control.
The regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts.
Saddam Hussein is harboring terrorists and the instruments of terror.
We're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon.
In addition to declaring and destroying all of its weapons of mass destruction, Iraq must end its support for terrorism.
We're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders.
It has given shelter and support to terrorism and practices terror against its own people.
Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested.
This is insanity, dude.
We've experienced the horror of September the 11th.
And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel.
You see what happened there? Did you all catch that? So you have it's the Hegelian dialectic. They create the problem so they can then come up with the quote unquote solution. You have George Bush referencing 9/11 and saying, because of 9/11, this is what we have to do. Now we have Iran, and they're claiming that they're going to connect it back to October the 7th. dude, you can't take these people serious. As a reminder, please hit the like button, everybody.
We have seen that those who hate America are willing to crash airplanes into buildings full of innocent people.
Slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before.
The attacks of September the 11th showed our country that vast oceans no longer protect us from danger. Before that tragic date, we had only hints of al-Qaeda's plans and designs. Today in Iraq, we see a threat whose outlines are far more clearly defined and whose consequences could be far more deadly.
An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people.
I mean, we get it. We get it. There's probably another 3 minutes of that. We don't have to watch it. We get it. But I do want to say, please hit the like button. The little spiel I gave at the very beginning of this live is extremely important because if you hit the like button, it helps get this video out to other people. And this message is extremely important not for those of us that already know this information and we're just seeing additional clips. But this is important for those out there that may not have received this information or heard it quite like this before. So by you hitting the like button, it will really, really help big time. I really appreciate you all. But with that clip, I need to show you all the hypocrisy, because another clip that we've seen before is what Donald Trump himself said about George Bush and the Iraq war and how it was all a lie. And now look at Trump sounding and behaving just like George Bush.
In Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake. So George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it? You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied. Okay. They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right.
That was Trump per usual, like every other politician before they get into office. That was Dan Bongino a year and a half ago until he joined the Trump administration, and then everything changed. What happened? Right? Which reminds me, do you all remember Joe Kent, former director of the National Counterterrorism Center? Joe Kent resigned. I read the letter. Pretty sure many of you all have seen and heard the letter yourselves. In that letter, he said because he cannot, in good faith, be a part of an administration that is participating in a war that does not benefit America and is on behalf of Israel. These are his words. He's since spoken about how Charlie Kirk, he has reason to believe that it may be possible that foreign entities may have played a role in what happened with Charlie. He says that he was prevented from investigating further what truly happened with Charlie Kirk. But what he does know is that Charlie Kirk was vehemently against the Iran war, which we already know that there's several videos out there and tweets to corroborate this claim. He says that Charlie Kirk stopped him in the West Wing of the White House and said to him in passing, "Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran," as he was on his way, he believes, to the Oval Office. He said nothing but respectful things about Donald Trump. Let me show you all how Donald Trump responds to him. He was super respectful to Trump, made sure that he was nothing but respectful, kind, didn't bash Trump. He could have easily done it, but it's definitely a chess move to be nice to Trump because, you know, MAGA is going to send their agents out to bash you no matter what you do. You can be extremely respectful to Trump and decide to resign because of this reason. And they're going to bash you because, just like I've said many times before about the black community, I've also said this about Democrats. If you publicly criticize them, if that's what accountability if that's what accountability looks like, they won't know parts of it. If you're going to criticize me and point me out for my wrongdoings, do it in private and only in private. It don't matter if I'm lying to people in public. It don't matter if I'm doing wrong in public over and over and over. Only help me or correct me in private, right? I want no parts of that. Well, this is what Trump had to say about Joe Kent after Joe Kent was extremely respectful to him.
Mr. President, do you know whether Joe Kent was leaking?
Look, I'm not a fan of the guy. If you look at, and you never cover this, if you look at his truths or whatever he went on, if it's X or truth, if you look at his truths or his statements, he was all for everything. All of a sudden, he wasn't. He was a man that I met at Dover. He came and his wife was killed. He remarried fairly quickly. His wife was killed.
That is so crazy to say. He said that the guy, Joe Kent, married very quickly. Joe Kent, after his wife was unalived, in battle, by the way, Joe Kent would only get remarried 4.5 years later. I'm going to say it again. It took this man 4.5 years later to remarry. It wasn't 6 months. It wasn't 2 months. It wasn't a year. 4.5 years later. He says that Joe Kent immediately remarried. Why would you lie, Trump? Why are you even bashing the guy when he said nothing but good things about you? This is our president.
And I felt badly for him. He ran for Congress, he lost. He ran for Congress again and he lost. I said, you know, he's a guy, nice guy, seemed like a very nice guy. I met him, he was pretty heartbroken, But I said, you know, it's a shame. He ran for Congress twice. Call him up, give him a job in the White House. Smart. They gave him a job in the White House, and this is what he does to me.
See what I'm saying? It's about Trump. This is what he does to me. But you notice what Trump never did in the video, and he hasn't done as of yet that I've seen? He hasn't actually said that Joe Kent lied anywhere. He never called Joe Kent a liar. He only said, this is what he does to me. Don't really care for the guy. He remarried fast. Trump, haven't you been married like 3 or 4 times, man? Didn't you meet one of your wives through Epstein? Isn't your wife seen respectfully hugged up on Jeffrey Epstein in a photo with you? Dressed pretty revealingly? Come on, man. Like, it's just weird stuff going on with these people. But speaking of weird stuff, we're going to end this video off with one of the most hilarious but hilariously satisfying moments in politics, and that would be the Mark Levin clip. Joe Kent went on Mark Levin's podcast. Why would you go on his podcast if you have anything to hide? That alone, I think, speaks to Joe Kent's character. Listen to how this went.
The president said he never really remembers you that well. He never really met with you that often. Is that correct?
Well, the president meets with so many different people. I mean, he knew who I was, but by no means was I a primary advisor to him on a daily basis. However, in terms of determining the threat level that Iran posed to our country, I was a key part of that process. So that was very much in my purview.
And he rejected your view?
I don't think he rejected the view. I think he may have chosen to go a different direction, and I think the vast majority of intelligence and information that he received was given to him to paint a picture that Iran was on the cusp of developing a nuclear weapon, which just simply was not the truth. And also, as Secretary Rubio said, there was no imminent threat coming from Iran against the Americans.
Well, you know, he corrected
there was an imminent threat coming from the Israelis who were going to attack. But that's actually the truth.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna do it honestly, one point at a time.
Had observed, the Iranians had observed an escalation ladder. They hadn't attacked us under President Trump.
Can you do me a favor? I don't mean to be rude. Can you talk a little more slowly? I'm having trouble hearing. Take your time. Go ahead.
Sure. When President Trump came into office, the Iranians knew that President Trump wanted to get a deal. They observed the escalatory ladder very carefully. They stopped having our proxies attack us like they were attacking us under the Biden administration. And they got to the negotiating table with us about the nuclear agenda. When the 12-day war kicked off and the Israelis started that, the Iranians still didn't attack us.
All right. We have to take a break. I'm going to circle back on some of your comments here, and then I have some other questions. I appreciate you being here. We'll be right back.
That conversation actually got a lot more heated because at one point, Mark Levin started to question if Joe Kent had been leaking any information, any confidential information. And some of that information that they're talking about are the Charlie Kirk text messages, which are not confidential information, not by governmental standards. It was something that somebody that was outside the government sent you, which is just a screenshot of text messages from a citizen, from a podcaster. Even if you sent that to Candace or anybody else, which he's denied, that would not be breaking the law. That would not be sending confidential information, governmental confidential information, right? But if you notice here in this clip, Mark Levin, Joe Kent is telling them, he's doubling down. Listen, man, no, we have reason to believe that Israel was a threat, not Iran. We're doing this on behalf of Israel. We're doing this because of Israel, not someone or for any other reason, not even for this country. I don't want to be a part of that. Mark Levin's response is, hold on, man, you're talking too fast, slow down. I appreciate you for being here. Joe Kent starts to speak again, and as he starts to speak, what do you notice? You notice that there is the commercial music starts to play eventually, and of course, in radio, that comes with it. I get it, but it was just very weird timing, right? Also, it's important to note that Mark Levin, as we know, much like Ben Shapiro, we have reason to believe that all of these people are agents. Mark Levin purposely decided to have Joe Kent on his radio show and not on his YouTube channel or on his podcast this past Saturday, which he could have easily done. He chose not to do that. Why? Because it's a lot harder to manipulate Joe Kent if you have him on live. If you have him on a radio show, people can't, visually see him. It gets a lot more tricky. You can use, radio breaks and background music and interruptions and these deceptive argument tactics or argumental tactics against people to try to help shape the narrative, but you still failed miserably. He came onto your podcast after you said that he was dodging you. He wasn't. And he doubled down on what's happening in this country. Yeah. So there's that, man. That was satisfying. Y'all pray for this country, man. Pray for our future. I pray for our future. Again, I just want to state for the record when it comes to Joe Kent, I don't claim to know the guy. I don't claim to 100% trust everything about him. As I said, Peter Thiel, that's his name, Peter Thiel, was backing this guy at one point in time over the past 2 or 3 years. I think that is enough of a reason to at least side eye Joe Kent and keep a close eye on him. But again, as I always say, if they're saying something that I agree with, that's what's important. I'm going to agree with the statement. I'm not saying I know and believe in everything that you stand for outside of that. Right? I can't control. So there's that. I'm gonna read a couple of these super chats and we can get up out of here. I don't want to make this too long. Shout out to Candace for the $20 super chat. I appreciate you. I tune into you so heavy. Love your work. The truth shall set you free. I appreciate that big time, Candace. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Shout out to Conspiracy Podcast, Joji. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Dan either got MK Ultra while in the FBI. I'm not going to lie, that crossed my mind as well. His behavior is just weird. I know some people look at him and say maybe he's doped out his mind, but is he always doped out his mind? Because his words aren't very slurred. Yes, he's kind of spaced out and he's kind of all over the place, but the dude's behavior is just beyond weird. Like, it's just odd. It's not like just old people odd. Like, he don't know what he's talking about and he's not making much sense anymore. It's kind of all over the place intentionally almost. He says just a bunch of empty words to try to fill time and space instead of just addressing what the obvious is here, You were just doing it a year ago. Your decline didn't happen that fast simply because of cognitive decline. I refuse to believe that, you know. His or they have pics of him doing the splits in the speedo with Lindsey Graham. His behavior is not rational. It's not rational at all. That's actually not a bad thought either. Like as far as like compromising positions, he looks like the type. Just saying, I wouldn't be shocked if he's done some things and they have him on camera doing it, and they have proof. As a Secret Service member, maybe he got offered something a couple of times and he took it up, and now they're holding it against him. Like, yeah, keep your mouth shut. We know about this. Because that would also help explain his weird behavior. He walks around like a man that's just afraid to pull out his phone one day and just see that it finally got leaked. It wasn't a part of the first batch of Epstein files, but it was a part of the next. Now he's looking like Kash Patel. And now people really know why he's been acting strange and why he flip-flopped. Which, again, I don't believe he ever flip-flopped. I believe this has been his goal from the beginning. But it would help explain the odd behavior from him. You were in a compromising position, and you didn't know if it was going to ever come out or not. So it's better to do with the people who's holding this information. It's better to do what they tell you to do. Keep your mouth shut. Go right to your little podcast. Shield for us. Shout out to Jennifer Jones for the $10 super chat. I wonder if Dan's maybe back. Make you wonder with the personality change in the word salads. That is 100% how I would describe it as word salads. I wasn't aware that he had cancer before. That does suck. I hate to hear that. 100% hate to hear that. Dang, man, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. I don't wish that on anybody, for sure. And if that is the case, I pray for him a speedy recovery. 100%. Conspiracy Podcast, thank you for the $5 super chat. Do you think Tiny Hat people are threatening another 9/11 to force Trump into submission? I agree that he is an actor. I've thought about this. Many people have considered this. Definitely possible, because we can't deny that Trump was singing a different tune beforehand. One could argue that he was singing a different tune just to get into the office. But I got to admit that in that Bush clip, he seemed so organic, man. He seemed like he really meant that. Those are things that people weren't saying before him. I do agree with that. I don't know what they have on Trump. Do I believe that's possible to answer your question? Sure. And maybe he's doing this to protect the country in a different way, and we just don't know. We don't know. But then I see other clips where Trump is attacking people, and he's almost boasting about his behavior. I mean, it's one thing to just shield and lie to us. It's another thing to come out on different days and start bragging about, your job when people are not happy with you. CNN says that I have 100% approval in the polls. So all of a sudden, CNN is no longer fake news, Trump. You see what I'm saying? So that right there just makes me go back and forth. I don't know what to believe with these people, Thank you for shout out to Julia Pierce for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Didi. Thank you. I appreciate you. And Miss Jilly, thank you for the $20 super chat. I've realized these actors exist to herd each group by age. Man, this absolutely. This is a really good comment, man. I wish this was a regular comment so I can pin it under this video after the live ended. This is very good. I realize these actors exist to herd each group by age, politics, religious or not. Yep. And to totality. This is a big one. I've said it a lot. Totalitarianism, different scripts for different groups, has helped me grasp things better. You get it. See, people, now I better understand why people watch my show. I'm like, oh, y'all are just like me. I know that a lot of y'all are anyways, but a comment like this is just more confirmation. You're just like me. You get it. You totally get it. 100%. This is freaking spot on. I agree. And I think everybody's playing their own role, which is why I said about the Tucker Carlson thing. Tucker Carlson, I'm not saying that he don't mean some of the things that he's saying, but I'm saying just be skeptical of everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. All your favorites, all of them. Because you just don't know when they may take you in a different direction. And I'm not here to tell you to get 100% behind anybody, including me. Hold me accountable when necessary. Always side-eye me as well. If I'm saying things you agree with, cool. But if I start to do suspicious things, man, y'all hold me accountable just like everybody else. Don't 100% follow anybody, because many people are playing a part of the PSYOP, and they're playing, they're double PSYOP agents. And that's just too much for people to believe. They're like, no. If he's saying things that I agree with and he's against that person I don't like, he has to be good. Or just like in politics, Biden, Trump are on two different sides, right? They're not. They're telling you that they are. It's the reason why Barack Obama and Trump get together and they laugh with each other. These people don't hate each other, man. It's a game. Allegedly. Allegedly. It's a game. What's up, Adrian? Thank you for the $5 super chat. Nobody owns or have rights to the planet. It didn't help create it. This elite war only ranking us, not caring, dividing, showing straight up this close. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. And I think it's by design. Like I said, I don't think any of these people, any of these agendas was meant to make the country better, make the world a better place. No. I think there are certain objectives, certain world objectives that they're working their way towards. And I think there are smaller things that have to happen and bigger things that have to happen all the same in order to inch their way towards that. And there are many different people on the world stage playing their role to help us get there, for lack of a better term. So on that note, man, I'm just going to end with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to say thank you so much for blessing us with another day. In this particular case, it's a Tuesday. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to wake up and see another day, waking us up with our health and our strength, right? Waking us up in our right mind, and allowing us to come together collectively, although virtually, to sort of go over these extremely important topics, try to discuss how to reach more people. Dear Heavenly Lord, fighting the algorithm, right? And fighting other powers that be, because as we know, there are powers in high places, principalities that we're actually fighting against collectively as your creation, right? We are not the creator. You are only the creator. And we just ask, dear Heavenly Father, to give us the strength to continue to give us the strength to push forward, to make our way through this muddy, chaotic, corrupt, evil, misguided, fallen world, and to give us the courage and the foresight to look towards you and only you for guidance, for advice, right? For the next steps that we're supposed to take, because only you know how murky, how scary, how unsure things can become. Uncertainty is in a lot of our minds, whether we're willing to admit it or not. And we just come to you today, dear Heavenly Father, to ask you for clarity. In your mighty name, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen. Thank you for the $3 sticker, Deanna Burnham. I appreciate it big time. All right, with that, everybody, I'm going to get up out of here. Love y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to go work on this Epstein video, and I'll catch you all the next one. Peace.
Oh, yeah. Didi got a pie.
Attitudes and our work ethic become very important in realizing our goals and opening up possibilities. I had lunch a couple of weeks ago with a recent graduate of UCA. And his story, is really fascinating. It's one of overcoming homelessness during his time pursuing his degree, first at a community college here in Arkansas, and then finishing his bachelor's degree here at UCA. His narrative ranges from estrangement from family for many years to a hopeful reunion with mother and siblings. His record is one of overcoming odds in a way that I probably could not, and certainly demonstrating levels of tenacity and patience and optimism that I can only marvel at. He wanted to talk with me about his new job and his career path going forward. I really need to be there to learn from him because that's where the real value was.
Everything I say in this video is alleged. Allegedly. No such thing as a life that's better than yours. Y'all can just repeat after me. I really appreciate it. Alright. No such thing. Come on, we can do better than that. Talk to me. Now let's start it over. No such thing as a life that's better than yours. You're worse than the rich white people or the rich white Jews that own these record labels, because they don't even understand these populations. You have a lot closer relationship to these people, and you're leading them to hellfire. You are leading them in the wrong direction in the name of getting rich and famous. How dare you?
Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.